Imagine just for a second that your language, the very words you use to think, to dream, to tell someone you love them, was suddenly taken away from you. That is the gut punch at the heart of Alphonse Daudet's incredible story, The Last Lesson. So let's step into a classroom on what's about to become the most important school day in one boy's life. A day that shows us how language is so much more than grammar, it's the key to who we are.
So meet Franz. He's our guide here, and right now he is having a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad morning. He's late, and he's totally unprepared for a pop quiz on participles. You know, those tricky grammar rules. His biggest fear? Facing his strict teacher, Hamel. But what Franz has no idea about is that by the end of this day, participles are going to be the absolute last thing on his mind.
Okay, so let's set the scene here. On the surface, this is just another school day for a kid who'd rather be anywhere else. But bubbling just underneath are these huge historical forces about to crash down and turn his ordinary day into something he'll never, ever forget.
To really get the weight of this day, we've got to zoom out a little. The year is 1870. The Franco-Prussian War has just ended, and France lost. As a result, the regions of Alsace and Lorraine now belong to Prussia. And with this new rule comes a crushing new order. The French language is now forbidden in schools. From this day forward, only German can be taught. This isn't just changing a lesson plan. It's a cultural earthquake, and Franz's little classroom is right at the epicenter.
So, given that he's late and unprepared, who could blame Franz for thinking about playing hooky? The day is warm, the birds are chirping, even watching the Prussian soldiers drill seems like a better option than facing Hamel. But he fights that temptation. He resists and hurries to school, a choice that turns out to be way more significant than he could possibly know.
All right, so Franz finally gets to school. And this is where things start to feel off. The normal hustle and bustle of the morning, it's gone. The air is thick with this strange, heavy silence. And he gets this sinking feeling that something is very, very wrong.
Think about it. School mornings are usually chaos, right? Desks opening and closing, kids shouting lessons. But today, it's as quiet as a Sunday service. And then he sees it. The village elders, people who haven't been in a classroom for decades, are sitting silently on the back benches. And Hamel, his teacher, is wearing his finest suit, the one he only wore for inspections or prize days. None of it makes any sense.
And then, Hamel drops the bombshell. In a voice that's both incredibly sad and serious, he tells them this is their very last lesson in French. The order has come from Berlin. Tomorrow, their new German master arrives. For Franz, those words hit like a thunderclap, a sudden, awful shock.
And in that moment, it all clicks into place. On his way to school, he'd seen a crowd gathered around the town bulletin board, the same board that had brought them nothing but bad news for 2 years. Lost battles, military drafts, and now he finally understood what this new, terrible news was.
In a single instant, Franz's entire world shifts. Everything he'd always taken for granted, his language, his school, is being ripped away, and the enormous weight of that loss comes crashing down on him.
It's incredible how his whole perspective just flips. The textbooks that were such a burden just an hour ago, well now, they feel like old friends he's being forced to say goodbye to. And Hamel, the cranky teacher with his big, scary ruler, suddenly Franz just feels sorry for him. A wave of regret washes over him for all the time he wasted, for every lesson he skipped.
And this really gets to a central theme of the story: procrastination. That feeling of, yeah, I'll get to it tomorrow. The people of Alsace, Franz included, always thought they had more time. They'd learn their own language later. But now their tomorrows have been stolen, and they're left with the hard truth that they never really took the time to master what was theirs.
But Hamel is clear. This isn't just on the students. He says they all share the blame. He points a finger at the parents, who often cared more about the little bit of money their kids could earn on a farm than about their education. And then he calls himself out, admitting that he'd sometimes send the kids to water his garden or cancel class just so he could go fishing. It's this powerful moment of shared responsibility, of everyone realizing their part in this loss.
So, standing in the middle of all this shared regret, Hamel gives the most important lesson of his life. He moves way beyond grammar and particles and starts talking about the deep connection between language, who you are, and even freedom itself.
And here it is. This is the heart and soul of the story. Hamel calls French the most beautiful, the clearest, the most logical language in the world, and he begs them to guard it, to never forget it. Why? Because he says when a people are conquered, as long as they hold on to their language, it's like they're holding the key to their own prison. It's a lifeline, a symbol of resistance.
Now, this act of forcing one language on another people actually has a name. It's called linguistic chauvinism. It's basically using language as a tool of conquest, a way to assert dominance and slowly erase the culture. By forcing German on these schools, the Prussians aren't just changing a subject, they're trying to cut the people of Alsace and Lorraine off from their own identity. And in the middle of this intense lesson, Franz hears pigeons cooing softly on the roof, and this innocent but really profound question pops into his head. It's a quiet act of defiance. Can a conqueror really change the very soul of a place? Can they really command nature itself? Will they make even the pigeons sing in German? It highlights just how unnatural and absurd this whole situation is.
The lesson slowly draws to a close, and the classroom is just thick with emotion. You could feel the loss, the sadness, setting the stage for one of the most powerful farewells you'll ever read.
The end comes with a chilling mix of sounds. First, the church clock strikes 12, marking noon. At that exact same moment, the trumpets of the Prussian soldiers are heard outside the window, the sound of their new reality marching in. Mr. Hamel stands up. He's pale. He opens his mouth to say something, but he can't. He's choked with emotion. The words just won't come out.
Since he can't speak, Hamel turns to the blackboard. He picks up a piece of chalk, and with all the strength he can muster, he writes two huge words for everyone to see. Vive la France! Long live France! It is his final, silent, and most defiant lesson of all.
And that's it. He leans his head against the wall, looking completely drained, but not broken. And with just a simple wave of his hand, he dismisses them. School is over. The last French lesson has ended.
The last lesson is just such a powerful reminder that the things that make us who we are, our language, our culture, our freedom, are often the things we take most for granted, right up until they're threatened. And so it leaves us with a really important question to think about. What does your own language, your own heritage, truly mean to you?